thank you very much for coming back again. You decided to go through the first and the second. Now you're coming back for the third offering. I might have you hooked a little bit that this makes a difference for you. So let me tell you a little bit about what you can expect in chapter 3, a couple of the highlights, and then we'll just go ahead and do it. So let me read this to you, just so I make sure I don't leave you out on some important points. Project management is the selection and systematic application of knowledge, skills, tools, and technologies to achieve a planned objective. Project management requires the sequential implementation of 5 work processes or phases called initiation, planning, executing, controlling, and closing. The project manager is responsible for the overall integration and completion of all the activities leading to project success, and everyone can be the project manager of their own life. And is there anything more important than carefully and systematically managing your own life? So then, starting with our normal beginning point, once again, we're here to talk about you as an individual. You're coming up the curve. At any point, you can decide to jump off and jump way up here and do something, and maybe even have an effect on others that are following you and telling them what you learned. And over here, we're in chapter 3. We're just laying a foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just the foundation. This is the period of the meaning of American Learnership Forum, project management, who you are, meaning in your life, and lastly, promoting yourself and branding yourself. Now, in many ways, it might seem like an awful lot of things, but it's only the foundation, because if you get this right, it lays down the mindset and the thinking that turns this power on, that really makes you start to live and take action differently, which leads to a synthesis of all these ideas, which then are applied over here. So I have to ask you to hang in there. Don't be too concerned about it. We don't want to think about it as being harder. I choose to say it's not harder, but it's smarter. Okay, so that's a way of thinking about what we are doing. We are all getting smarter, and I mean I am getting smarter by just having to stand here, watch you, watch me, helps me get smarter on what I'm saying, if it matters at all. So going forward, just to give you a little review of the landscape of this project management business, you need to know that there is a project management association in the body of knowledge. There's a lot of people who have made their careers based upon knowing how to do project management, being project managers in the companies where they work. Basically, it boils down to they have to take a responsibility, and they have to learn how to scope it out, apply time to it. They have to make sure they have factors for quality, to control the quality, control the cost, integrate the pieces that matter, communicate it to others, do risk management, and procure the parts that are necessary to get something done. It's like running your own company. It's like being an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur. It's like running your own operation. Some people make their whole life on just being project managers. They just do project after project after project. The interesting thing about project management, it fits into the thing we call systems thinking and systems engineering. Because basically what you have to do, you have in mind, or your business has something in mind, or you have in mind something that you want to do, you want to get, you want to achieve. The question becomes, how do you do that? How do you actually achieve it? Well, it boils down to systematically laying out the various steps that will get you there, and then making sure you have the inputs, the resources, and the guidance and the help that gives you the activities, resources, so that you can deliver the output. And you always have to be working with a control system that tells you when, through feedback, you're doing this right or wrong, and when this is working or not working. So you see, project management is built upon the idea of old systems theory, where if you understand things as a system, you understand inputs, outputs, and feedback loops, you just apply that to the work you're doing. And so what we're suggesting is, this is about the best thinking you can do when you're actually running a project, if the project is called you. Project is actually you. And this is what it looks like when you actually chart it out. It is possible that someone could take this bottom line and say, okay, I'm 25 years old, just graduated college, got to find a job. I have a grandson doing that right now. And the question becomes, where is the job and what am I going to do as I go into phase 2, which becomes starting to head towards becoming a working family man. And then eventually he'll be at 50 and he'll be saying, well, that was a good run for 25 years. I don't even like this stuff anymore. I don't know why I got involved. It was my grandfather who told me to be an engineer, and I made some money, but boy, I hated it the whole time. So he'll be coming to classes like this, and he'll say, would you save me from my grandfather? He drove me nuts. I did what he wanted. I got rich, but I'm not happy. I really want to be an artist. But at least he'll be able to afford being an artist if he listened to his grandfather. So what you do is you lay out, you can do this conceptually at any time in your life and start anywhere you want and say, I'm going to do this, that's going to lead me to that, which will lead me to this, and this is the right time frame for it, and I'm going to allocate resources and time to get educated, buy what I have to buy, and move my life forward for my family and myself. It makes so much sense to think like that about your business. Other people who got involved later on and brought ideas to play were a couple of guys, Kaplan and Norton, created an idea, something like what you have on the bottom of the chart here. They made the point that if you're an executive manager, it's not hard to think about what you got to think about. In many ways, being a business person is the easiest thing in the world because it's very clear. What you have to do is you have to provide customers with something that they want to pay for. Because if they get what they want, they'll pay you for it and you'll have money. The question is, can you do this in a way that they'll keep coming back? And that's the marketing aspect, partly, but it's also based upon your operational efficiency of your own organization. Because if your costs exceed what you can charge, you're never going to have any money left. The way it comes into play for a guy like myself with knowledge management and lifelong learning is that if you're not learning and knowing and always growing, you're always in danger of being left behind. In the swath of our American community, there are huge numbers of people who are left behind. They don't know why, they don't have a clue. No one ever gave them the insights that you needed to get yourself going. If you know this and you really believe this, then when someone sends you to school to get educated, you go to school to get educated because you know that you can help someone's efficiency by working for them and improving their processes and controlling their costs. And if they can control the costs, they can sell at a better price. They can sell at a better price, they'll make financial rewards, and then they can also keep it going. It's a ball that spins forward. The way it works out in somewhat greater detail is, if you take it over here, you'd say, well, let's say learning and knowledge management, you see it through organizational learning, employee knowledge, workforce, teamwork. If the American Learnership Forum is about anything at all, it's about the human capital development that comes from people paying attention to what you have to do in this domain. If you grow people, they in turn will be helpful in quality management, improving the product, in the processes, and also in systems analysis, where I made a whole career in organizational improvement through process analysis and improvement. And so when you get this part working well, you have efficiency in doing what you already decided to do well. But you still got to go out and you got to create a market for that which you can do. You got to do it as a person. You got to do it as an individual. You do it as a community that competes with each other, trying to get the best people to live in those communities. So this whole concept rolls forward for people, for organizations, and for communities. And at the highest level, it rolls forward even for societies. Who would compare North Korea to South Korea and make any judgment other than the fact that South Korea really has its act together as compared to North Korea? And you can look all around the world for these kinds of examples. One of my most beautiful models, sort of like a Rembrandt, sort of like someday I hope to see this in the National Museum as an example of a fledgling artist who liked to work with color and people's notions. And someone found this in an attic somewhere and said, do you think we could hang this up and maybe we could even get people to come and see it? Because this is a beautiful take on what I just was building. Because it says, self-fulfillment, high performance, and the common good, what do they have together? What they have is the same organizational learning, efficiency, market, and revenue. But look at that. There is, to start off with, everyone has a dark blue link. Everyone has to have people who are learning, growing, and producing and have better skills using the technology. Okay? That is sort of the whole field of efficiency, knowledge management efficiency. Then what you have to do is operations management, where other people say, well, I'm not really an expert in that, but I know how to cut things, do things, and I can deliver things, and I can make things. They're manufacturers, or they're service providers, or they're insurance agents. They just do the basic work, and the better they can do the basic work here, or here, or here, that is a better place to work. And what happens is, then that's operations management, and then market management has to do with, for people, for organizations, and for communities, the same kind of thing. You just got to figure out how to change it and focus it. And then lastly, everybody wants the personal income or the revenue or the budget that they need to get their job done. We're all in the same business. Get involved, grow, contribute, sell, deliver, take the money, spend it, use it, recycle it, build capital, over and over and over again. And so, once again, for you who are watching, what are you about? What are you about? What are you doing on a personal level? Are you growing, or are you avoiding the education and training that you need? And you know you need it. You can't put it off any longer. And what about the organization? If your company has the opportunity to teach you things it wants to teach you, but you don't want to know because, well, do you care about that company? Well, they know you don't want to know. So on and so forth and so forth. People know who's with them and who's against them. What I've been adding now, it's come in, the fifth one is financial security. Because in this chapter is when we first start to talk about what do you do with the money you got? How do you invest it? What is wealth? And is wealth only money, or is it other things in your life? So this is the fifth factor now is in play. From now on, we're talking about financial security, because we could not leave it out. Because if we left it out, you'd say this whole program is irrelevant because you left out the most important thing to me. So we now have it in there, and there are financial forms and things we talk about later on. And so with that, how would you use this in your personal life and your career?